The call came at 3:17 a.m. A hospital in Albany. My father was gone. Just like that. A massive coronary. They said he was alone. The guilt of that thought of me being here in New York City, living a lie of a life while he was up there, living his quiet, stubborn one that hit me a second after the numbness receded. It was a physical pain, sharp and cold, right below my sternum. Next to me, Jack slept through the ringing. He always slept like the dead. I shook his shoulder, my voice thin. Jack, my dad, the hospital called. He grunted, swatting at my hand without opening his eyes. MMF. What about it? He's dead. Jack, he died. One eye opened, bleary and annoyed in the digital clock's glow. Shit. Okay. What do you want me to do about it now? He rolled over, pulling the duvet with him. We'll deal with it in the morning. Tell Miranda not to make a big deal out of breakfast. I have an early conference call. He was snoring again in 30 seconds. I sat on the edge of the bed, the receiver from the landline still in my hand, listening to the dial tone until it became a frantic, scolding beep. I didn't cry. I just sat there, watching the lights of the city bleed around the edges of our blackout curtains, feeling the vast, empty silence of the apartment that our $2.5 million Upper East Side cage, the closing around me. The silence in my marriage had just become absolute. The funeral was a small, grim affair. Dad's friends from the garage, a few old neighbors. Jack stood beside me, a monument of appropriate solemnity, in a flawless black Tom Ford suit. He held my elbow, not my hand. His grip was firm, proprietary, not comforting. He checked his Rolex twice during the eulogy. My younger brother, Lucas, was a wreck at 24. He was all sharp angles and red-rimmed eyes, looking younger than he was. He clung to me after the service. His voice choked. He was so proud of you, Mari, always, even when I married Jack. I finished for him softly, smoothing his rumpled suit jacket. Lucas had never made a secret of his dislike for my husband. I dismissed it as little brother protectiveness. Now, I wasn't so sure. He just wanted you happy. Lucas mumbled. Jack materialized at my other side, his public mask of concern in place. Lucas, my condolences. Marianne, the car is waiting. Your mother is getting tired. He always called Miranda my mother to me, a constant, subtle reminder that I was the outsider. Miranda Miller, perched on a folding chair, like a queen, holding court amidst folding chairs, was dabbing dry eyes with a lace handkerchief. She'd met my father exactly 3 times. Each time, she'd made a comment about his working man's hands or the quaint simplicity of his upstate life. There you are, darling, she said to Jack, ignoring Lucas and me. This chill is dreadful for my joints, and the drive back will be interminable. She looked at me. You'll manage the leftovers? She waved a dismissive hand at the few casserole dishes neighbors had brought. Yes, Miranda, I said, my voice flat. Good, Jack, your arm. I watched them walk away. My husband and his mother, 2 perfectly coiffed profiles against the gray November sky. Lucas squeezed my shoulder. She's a piece of work. He's worse. You know you don't have to. I know. Luke, I cut him off. Not ready to hear it, to even think it. Let's just pack up Dad's things. A week later, I was sitting in the opulent, wood-paneled offices of Henderson, Bryce Strauss, staring at a man named Arthur Cogswell. He had kind eyes and a no-nonsense manner. Your father was a very savvy man. Mrs. Miller, frugal, invested wisely. The garage was quite profitable, and he sold the property at an excellent time. He slid a single sheet of paper across the vast desk. This is the total value of the estate, after taxes, and with the specific, irrevocable trust he set up for your brother's education and business ventures. The remainder passes directly to you. My eyes scanned the number. Then they scanned it again. A cold, then hot, wave washed over me. It wasn't billions, but it was life-altering. More than enough to never have to ask Jack for money for a new coat, a charity donation, or to help Lucas with a security deposit. Enough to be free. I had no idea. He wanted it to be a surprise, a safety net. He called it. He was very concerned about your well-being. Mr. Cogswell's tone was delicate. The funds are currently held in a managed portfolio. You have immediate access. My firm is at your disposal for any financial planning you require. Your father was a dear friend. He wanted you taken care of. Taken care of. The words echoed in the silent taxi ride home. Jack believed he was the one who took care of me. He paid for the apartment, the cars, the memberships. My part-time curating work at a small gallery was a hobby to him. My independence had been eroded, grain by grain, over 7 years. This money, this shocking, solid number, felt like land appearing under my feet after years at sea. Jack was home early, a rarity. He was pouring a scotch at the sidebar. How did it go? He asked, his back to me. It was fine. The lawyer was very thorough. Good, good. He took a sip, still not turning. So, what's the damage? I assume there's some paperwork. A few thousand. We can dump it in the money market account. He said it the way one might discuss disposing of a worn-out sofa. I took a slow breath. It's a bit more than that. Jack. Now he turned. His expression was one of mild, bored curiosity. Oh, 50? 100? Your father did own that land. We can put it toward the new boat. The dealer called today. Actually, the wee was a knife twist. The new boat was his latest obsession. A 40-foot cruiser he planned to moor in the Hamptons. A toy for him and, I was sure, his colleagues and whoever else he entertained. It's not for a boat. Jack, I said, my voice firmer than I'd heard it in years. It's my inheritance. My father left it to me. His eyebrows rose. The mild curiosity sharpened into something more calculating. He set his glass down. Marianne, don't be emotional. Of course it's yours, but we're married. What's yours is mine. Legally speaking, we're a partnership. We make financial decisions together. He walked towards me, adopting a conciliatory tone. Look, I know you're grieving. This is a lot. Why don't you let me handle the details with the lawyer? You shouldn't have to deal with this stress. The old Marianne might have acquiesced. The tired, lonely woman who just wanted a moment of peace. A kind word. But that woman was receding, pushed back by the shocking, fortifying presence of that number on Arthur Cogswell's paper. I've already handled it. Jack, the lawyer is my father's, not ours. The money is in an account in my name. I'll be managing it. The silence that followed was electric. I saw the muscles in his jaw work. He wasn't used to being told no, especially not by me. The mask of the solicitous husband slipped. Just for a second, and I saw the cold impatience underneath. Then it was back, smoother than ever. Of course, darling, whatever you think is best. He forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. You know, I've been thinking, we should get away. Just the two of us. The Caribbean. Maybe. You've been under so much strain. It would be good for you. The offer, coming now, was as transparent as glass. The great Jack Miller, suddenly eager for alone time with his wife. Right after she came into money, she wouldn't immediately hand over. A week ago, I might have wept with grateful hope. Now, it just made me feel sick. Maybe, I said non-committally, walking past him toward the bedroom. I'm tired. I'm going to lie down. I'll have Miranda hold dinner. He called after me, his voice all false cheer. That night, I lay awake again. Jack was in his study, catching up on work. A regular occurrence. I used to bring him tea. I stopped a year ago, after I'd opened the door without knocking, and found him quickly minimizing a chat window, his face a flash of guilt and irritation. He'd snapped at me for interrupting. Now, I got out of bed and stood barefoot in the dark hallway. A sliver of light showed under his study door. I could hear the low murmur of his voice. Not a conference call. Too intimate. I moved closer, silent on the plush carpet. Don't worry about it. Sweetheart, it's a temporary complication. No, of course not. It just means I have to be a little more tactful. For now, don't pout. You know you're the one I want. This is just business. Yeah, the usual place. Friday. I'll text you the room number. I know. I miss you too. It won't be forever. I promise. The sound of a kiss, transmitted through the phone, made my stomach lurch. I backed away, ice flooding my veins. Sweetheart, the one I want. It won't be forever. I'd known. Of course. In that way a woman knows when her husband's touch becomes routine, when his eyes slide past her, when his stories have gaps. But knowing and hearing it are two different things. The pain was old and dull, but the anger was new, bright, and shockingly clear. I didn't go back to bed. I went to the walk-in closet, to a hat box on the top shelf I never used. Behind a stack of old scarves was a business card, slightly bent. Samantha Ross, ESQ Family Law Domestic Litigation. Protecting your future. A gallery client. A fierce woman who'd gone through her own brutal divorce and came out the other side stronger. Had pressed it into my hand 6 months ago, just in case. She'd said, her gaze knowing. I clutched the card in my palm, the edges biting into my skin. Just in case. The case had arrived. 2 days later, I was sitting across from Samantha Ross in a sleek, modern office in Midtown. She was in her 40s, with a sharp blonde bob and eyes that missed nothing. Tell me everything. Marianne, she said, her voice calm. From the beginning, don't leave anything out, even if you think it's insignificant. So I did. I told her about the slow estrangement, the contempt masked as concern, the financial control. I told her about the inheritance. Her eyes flickered with interest. I told her about the phone call I'd overheard. Do you have any evidence? Texts, emails, credit card statements, photos? I never looked. I didn't want to know. Start looking, she said, not unkindly. If you're serious about exploring your options, you need to be smart. This inheritance changes the game. It makes you a target, but it also gives you leverage. He won't want to let you go easily now. Not with that money in the picture. He'll try to get it, or tie you up in court until it's gone. The thought was terrifying. What do I do? First, you do exactly as you've been doing. Don't confront him. Don't let on that you're planning anything. Be the quiet, compliant wife. Second, you secure your assets. We'll move the inheritance into a new account, at a new bank, one he has no association with. Today. Third, you start documenting everything. A journal, times, dates, quotes. If he insults you, if he threatens you, if he so much as raises his voice, write it down. Fourth, and this is important, you need to think about your physical safety. Has he ever been physically violent? I thought of the hard grip on my arm, the way he'd sometimes loom over me during arguments. No, not yet. Not yet are the key words, Samantha said grimly. Often, when a controller feels their control slipping, especially financial control, the behavior escalates. Have a bag packed. Know where your important documents are. Do you have somewhere safe to go? Family? A friend he doesn't know about? My brother, Lucas. He has an apartment in Brooklyn. Good. Memorize his address. Don't have it in your phone where Jack can find it. Now, about evidence of the affair. Check credit card statements for unusual charges. Hotels, restaurants, jewelry stores you never saw jewelry from. Does he have an old phone or tablet lying around? Anything cloud-based he might be logged into? I felt overwhelmed but focused. This was a plan. Actionable steps. I'll look. Be careful. Assume he's monitoring you. Use a friend's computer or your phone at work for any sensitive searches. My first piece of official advice, Marianne, is to do nothing yet. Build your case. Protect your money. Let him think He's still in charge. When he feels secure, he'll get sloppy. That's when we'll have him. She leaned forward. This will get ugly before it gets better. Are you prepared for that? I thought of my father, leaving me a safety net he knew I'd need. I thought of Jack's voice, calling another woman sweetheart. I thought of a lifetime of being Miranda's tolerated nuisance. Jack's accessory. Yes, I said, and for the first time, I believed it. I'm prepared. The following Friday, the night of Jack's room number date, Miranda insisted on coming over for dinner, a family evening to cheer poor Marianne up. Jack, playing the devoted son and husband, agreed enthusiastically. Dinner was a tense, elaborate affair prepared by Miranda's favorite caterer. Miranda held court, gossiping about people I didn't know, complaining about the co-op board, and critiquing the wine Jack had chosen. How is your brother, dear? Miranda asked me suddenly, over dessert. Her tone was syrupy with false concern. Lucas, isn't it? Such a spirited boy. Is he still between ventures? He's doing very well. Miranda, I said, keeping my voice even. His tech startup just secured a second round of venture funding. Oh, funding, she said, waving a dismissive hand. It's all monopoly money until it's in the bank. Such a risky world. I do hope he's not in any difficulty. Young men can be so proud, reluctant to ask for help. She took a delicate bite of her flourless chocolate cake. It's a terrible burden for a sister, I imagine. Feeling responsible. Jack watched me, his eyes narrow. I could see the calculation. Miranda was laying the groundwork. The unreliable, cash-strapped brother, the overly loyal, gullible sister. Lucas is fine, I said firmly. He doesn't need my help. Of course not, dear. Miranda simpered. I'm just saying, family is family. One must be prepared to make sacrifices. She dabbed her lips with a napkin. Speaking of family, Jack, did I tell you? I've decided to have my diamond necklace reset. The setting is so dreadfully old-fashioned. The stones are so good. Of course. Flawless. A family heirloom. It's worth a small fortune. But one can't wear a fortune if it's hideous. Can one? She was looking directly at me as she said it. A slow, deliberate smile on her face. The diamonds. The family heirloom I'd never once seen her wear in 7 years. The small fortune. That sounds lovely. Miranda, I said, meeting her gaze. It will be, she said, her smile not reaching her cold eyes. One must protect what's truly valuable and know exactly where it is at all times. Don't you agree, Marianne? The threat and the promise hung in the air between us, as clear and hard as the diamonds she was describing. I finally understood. The performance, the lies, the casual cruelty, that IT was all a test, a probe for weakness. And now, with my inheritance a secret between us, the real play was beginning. I took a sip of water, my hand perfectly steady. Absolutely. Miranda, I said, my voice quiet but clear. I couldn't agree more. I knew exactly what was coming next. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid. I was ready. The next 2 weeks were a study in performance. I played my part, the grieving daughter, the preoccupied wife, the slightly overwhelmed inheritor. Jack played his, the suddenly attentive husband. It was a grotesque pantomime. He brought me coffee in bed, but something he hadn't done since our honeymoon. You're working too hard, Marianne. All that paperwork with the estate. You should let me help. His smile was a practice tool. It's almost done. Jack, just a few more signatures. I'd say, tucking the latest correspondence from Arthur Cogswell and Samantha Ross into my locked portfolio. I'd rented a small safety deposit box at a bank downtown. My new lifeline. Miranda's visits became more frequent. She'd swoop in, a whirlwind of couture and criticism, her eyes constantly scanning our apartment, my apartment, legally. Thanks to a prenup his mother had insisted on that now protected my premarital assets. including this new inheritance. Her favorite topic remained her jewelry, specifically the mythical diamond necklace. The appraisal came in quite high. You know, she said one afternoon, perched on our ivory silk sofa as if holding court. I was sorting through donation boxes of my father's old books, a useful prop for my supposed distraction. Not that I'd ever sell. Some things are beyond price, family heritage, but it's comforting to know its value is recognized. She sipped her Earl Grey, watching me over the rim. I'm having the new setting designed by a man in the Diamond District. Exorbitant, but for true quality, one must pay. Of course, I murmured, not looking up from a weathered copy of Moby Dick. My father's marginalia dotted the pages. Ahab's obsession will sink them all. He'd scribbled. I felt a pang. You're so quiet lately, Marianne. Jack observed from the doorway. He was home in the middle of the day. Another new development. Is everything all right? You're not brooding about your father, are you? You need to move forward. His tone was a masterful blend of concern and condescension. I'm fine, Jack, just tired. I closed the book. I think I'll lie down before dinner. His eyes followed me out of the room. I could feel them, cold and assessing. The performance was for his benefit. Too, he was waiting for a crack, a moment of weakness where I might sign something, agree to merge an account, seek his advice. In the sanctuary of my walk-in closet, I pulled out the burner phone Samantha had insisted I get. I texted Lucas, using our new simple code, me. Rain check on Sunday dinner. Forecast looks unsettled. Lucas, understood. Umbrella ready if you need it. Umbrella meant he was on standby. Car ready. Apartment cleared for me. He'd moved to a secure building in Tribeca with a 24-hour doorman after I'd told him the broad strokes. My little brother was now a 6'2" wall of grim, protective fury. It was both heartbreaking and empowering. My next call was to Samantha. He's home in the afternoons now, watching me. His mother is here constantly, talking about that necklace. It's like she's narrating a heist film for her own benefit. Samantha's voice was crisp. It's psychological warfare. They're setting the stage. The valuable, sentimental heirloom. The financially troubled brother. They've planted that seed. They're constructing a narrative where you, the emotionally vulnerable wife with sudden wealth, are the only logical thief. Have you found anything concrete? I thought of the slim external drive hidden inside a hollowed-out hardcover on my shelf. I accessed the old laptop he thought was dead, the one in the storage closet. Cloud backups were still active. I have emails, hotel confirmations, credit card statements for gifts from last year. It's a woman named Chloe, a junior associate at his firm. Good. Keep digging. But be careful. The more they tighten the screws, the closer we get to the blow-up. Remember, when it happens, you don't argue, you don't engage, you leave, and you go straight to our agreed location. The moment he lays a hand on you or threatens you, it's over. The law and the leverage shift to us. I understand. Do you, Marianne? Her voice softened a fraction. It's one thing to plan it. It's another to stand there and take it. Your job, until the moment you walk out that door, is to be the perfect victim. It's the hardest role you'll ever play. The blow-up came on a Thursday. Miranda had insisted on a proper family dinner to celebrate Jack's impending promotion, a promotion that, as far as I could tell from his muted phone calls, was on very shaky ground. The air in the apartment was thick with forced festivity and unspoken tension. Dinner was a silent, tense affair. Miranda picked at her food, her gaze lingering on me with reptilian calm. Jack drank heavily, his joviality growing louder and more brittle with each glass of Bordeaux. After the plates were cleared, Miranda stood. I'm just going to freshen up. Don't bother. Darling, she said to me as I moved to clear the table. You've done enough. She swept down the hallway toward the guest powder room. Jack leaned back in his chair, swirling his wine. So, Cogswell called the office today. I froze, a chill spreading through my chest. What my assistant put him through. Said he was following up on some financial planning for you. Wanted to confirm my contact details for the file. Jack's eyes were hard, all pretense of warmth gone. Why is your dead father's lawyer calling my office? Marianne? What file? I kept my voice level, though my heart was hammering against my ribs. I told you, he's helping me manage the inheritance. He probably just wants to be thorough. Estate law. Beneficiaries at Standard. Standard. Jack repeated, the syllable dripping with scorn. You have a husband who works in finance. You don't need some upstate ambulance chaser managing anything. You will call him tomorrow and have everything transferred to our joint advisors at Goldman. I've already spoken with Peterson there. He's expecting the call. It wasn't a request. It was a decree. The mask was off. No, Jack, the words were out. Quiet and final. His face darkened. What did you say to me? Before I could answer, a shrill cry echoed from the hallway. Jack! Jack! Come here immediately. It was Miranda, her voice a perfect pitch of theatrical distress. Jack shoved his chair back, shooting me a look of pure venom before striding out. I followed, slowly, my senses on high alert. Miranda was standing in the doorway of the guest bedroom, one hand pressed to her chest. The decorative box where she claimed to keep her jewelry when visiting was open on the bed, its velvet interior empty. It's gone, she wailed, turning to Jack with wide, horrified eyes. My necklace, my mother's diamonds. I was just looking at it this afternoon, thinking of the new setting, and now it's vanished. Jack's head swiveled toward me. His expression was no longer just angry. It was a thundercloud of manufactured outrage. Marianne, where is it? I crossed my arms, leaning against the doorframe. How would I know? Jack, I haven't been in this room. Don't you lie to me. He roared, taking a step toward me. The scent of wine and rage wafted off him. You've been skulking around, acting strange for weeks, distant, secretive, and now a piece of jewelry worth over $200,000 disappears from this house? Our house. Miranda sniffled, dabbing at dry eyes. Jack, please, don't jump to conclusions. I'm sure there's an explanation. Her tone begged the opposite conclusion. The explanation is standing right there. Jack jabbed a finger at me. You've been jealous of that necklace since the day you saw it. And now, with your brother's little startup hitting another snag, you saw an opportunity. This was new. What are you talking about? Lucas's company is fine. Is it? Jack sneered. Peterson at Goldman mentioned hearing chatter. A failed beta test. Investors getting cold feet. He's drowning. Marianne. And you've been desperate to throw him a lifeline. But dear old Dad's money isn't as liquid as you thought. Is it? Or maybe Cogswell told you not to touch the principal. So you saw another way. Pawn it? Sell the stones individually? Did you think we wouldn't notice? The logic of the trap was horrifyingly elegant. They'd constructed a perfect, pathetic motive. The jealous, insecure wife. The ne'er-do-well brother. The inaccessible fortune. The tempting, portable asset. I didn't touch her necklace. Jack, I have no idea where it is. My voice was calmer than I felt. Inside, a cold, clear space was opening up. This was it. Samantha's blow-up. Liar. The word exploded from him. He closed the distance between us in 2 strides. His hand, broad and heavy, came up so fast I didn't have time to flinch. Crack. The slap snapped my head to the side. White-hot pain bloomed across my cheek, followed by a numbness that buzzed. My ear rang. I stumbled back a step, my hand flying to my stinging face. Through a haze of shock and pain, I saw Miranda's face. There was no shock there, only a cold, satisfied gleam in her eyes before she rearranged her features into a mask of dismay. Jack, Violence is not the answer. She chided, but there was no force behind it. Jack was breathing heavily, his chest heaving. The blow hadn't dissipated his rage, it had focused it. He loomed over me, his finger in my face. You listen to me, you ungrateful bitch. You will go get that necklace, or you will bring me the cash equivalent. Right. Now, I kept my hand pressed to my cheek, feeling the heat, the already rising swell. I said nothing. I just looked at him. The stranger I'd married, at the architect of this cheap, cruel scheme. Did you hear me? He snarled, spittle hitting my chin. You have 1 hour. You go downstairs. You get the money from whatever hole you've squirreled it away in, and you bring it back. You will repay my mother for what you've stolen. If you don't, he leaned in, his voice dropping to a venomous whisper meant for only me. I will ruin you. I will call the police. I will tell them you've been stealing to fund your brother's failing business. I will have you arrested for grand larceny in your own home. Your inheritance will be gone, tied up in legal fees. You will be a convicted thief. And then I will divorce you and take everything that's left. Now, go, get the money. The silence in the room was absolute, broken only by Jack's ragged breathing. Miranda watched, a vulture waiting for the last twitch. Slowly, I lowered my hand from my throbbing face. I didn't look at Miranda. I kept my eyes on Jack's, letting him see the tears of pain that had gathered, and nothing else. No fear, no pleading, just the shimmer of unshed tears. I let my shoulders slump in a gesture of defeat. I dropped my gaze to the floor. Okay, I whispered, my voice thick. What was that? Jack barked. I cleared my throat, looked up with what I hoped was a shattered expression. I said, okay, I'll go get the money. It's in a safe deposit box. Downtown. I need to go get it. Jack's triumphant, contemptuous smile was the most horrible thing I'd ever seen. He believed it. He believed I was broken. He believed I was guilty. He believed I was his to destroy. 1 hour, he repeated, jabbing his finger toward the door. Don't you dare try to run. I know everyone. Marianne, there's nowhere you can go. I nodded, a quick, bird-like motion of submission. I didn't look at either of them again. I turned and walked, carefully, deliberately, out of the bedroom, down the hall, past the dining table with its shattered remains of a family dinner. I picked up my everyday purse from the console table, my phone, my wallet, my keys. My heart was pounding a wild, frantic rhythm against my ribs. But my hands were steady as I opened the front door. I stepped out into the carpeted hallway of our building. The door clicked shut behind me, locking me out, locking them in. The performance was over. I didn't press the elevator button for the lobby. I pressed it for the parking garage. 2 levels below, the ride down was silent. My reflection in the bronze doors a pale ghost with a livid red handprint spreading across its cheek. The garage was cool and smelled of concrete and car exhaust. I walked past Jack's Porsche, past my own Audi he'd bought me as a push present for a baby we never had. I walked to the far corner, to a dark blue, nondescript sedan that had been parked there for a week. The back door opened as I approached. Lucas's face, tight with fury and concern, appeared. Mari, your face. Drive, I said, my voice no longer a whisper. It was flat, cold, and clear. Now, as Lucas pulled out of the parking spot, I pulled the burner phone from my purse. My fingers flew over the keys, not to 911, but to a contact saved as SR. Me. It happened. Slap. Threats. Grand larceny accusation. They've taken the bait. Proceeding to phase 2. Evidence package is live. Location. En route to primary. I hit send. Then I opened the encrypted photo app. The first image was a time-stamped screenshot from a tiny, hidden camera in the living room air vent, showing Miranda, alone that afternoon, placing not a diamond necklace, but a cheap, rhinestone costume piece from a department store into her jewelry box. The second was a close-up of a receipt for said costume jewelry, purchased by Miranda 2 days prior. The third image was a selfie I took right now. In the dim light of the moving car, the angry, perfect outline of Jack's hand on my pale cheek. Samantha's reply was almost instantaneous. SR, copy that. Police and EMTs are being dispatched to your address now. I'm meeting you at the precinct. Do not speak to anyone until I'm there. Do not answer your personal phone. See you soon. Marianne. It begins. I lean my head back against the seat, the adrenaline starting to shake through me. I looked at my brother's grim profile in the rearview mirror. You're sure about this? He asked, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. I touched my throbbing cheek. The physical proof of the end of my old life. I thought of Jack's smug triumph, of Miranda's cold eyes. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Luke, step on it. The city lights streaked past the car window, a blur of sodium orange and white. The numbness in my cheek had receded, replaced by a deep, throbbing heat. I kept my fingers lightly pressed against it, the physical anchor to the surreal reality of the last 20 minutes. Lucas glanced at me in the rearview mirror, his eyes dark with a fury he was barely containing. Do you need ice? I have a cooler in the trunk. For groceries. The lie was weak. We both knew he'd started keeping emergency supplies in his car the day I'd shown him Samantha's safety plan. No, keep driving. The precinct on West 82nd. Samantha will meet us there. My voice sounded strange to my own ears.com. Detached. Surgical. The shaking in my hands had stopped the moment Lucas pulled onto the FDR drive. Mari, we could just go to the hospital first. Get that looked at. Document it properly. They're sending an EMT to the precinct. Samantha arranged it. It's better this way. A police report, a medical evaluation, all in one sequence. It's stronger. I repeated Samantha's instructions like a mantra, the logic holding the howling chaos inside me at bay. I opened my everyday purse to the one Jack had seen me take. From behind the lining, I peeled out the small, wireless drive. The evidence package is on here. The video from the living room, vent cam. The audio from the hallway tonight. The financials. Samantha has the cloud backup. But this is the physical copy. Don't lose it. Lucas nodded, his jaw tight. I still can't believe he hit you. I should go back there and... You'll do nothing of the sort. The steel in my voice surprised even me. That's exactly what they'd want. A violent, unstable brother. It would muddy everything. We do this by the book. We bury them with the book. My personal phone started buzzing in my purse. I pulled it out. The screen flashed. Jack. I let it go to voicemail. It buzzed again immediately. Then a text popped up. Jack, where the hell are you? You have 40 minutes. Bring the money, or I'm calling the cops. I took a screenshot of the text, then powered the phone off completely. They'll be getting a visit from the police any minute now. I said, more to myself than to Lucas. I wonder how they'll explain the missing necklace to them. The 20th Precinct house was a buzz of muted activity. Samantha Ross was already there, standing near the front desk, a sleek leather folio under her arm. She looked like she'd just come from a board meeting, not a late-night legal emergency. Her sharp eyes took me in instantly, zeroing in on my cheek. A flicker of cold satisfaction crossed her face, gone as quickly as it appeared. Marianne. Lucas. She gave a curt nod. Come with me. We're using interview room B. Officer Davison is expecting us. She led us past the front desk with an air of unquestionable authority. A uniformed officer, a woman in her 40s with a tired but kind face, met us in a narrow hallway. Her name tag said Davison. Mrs. Miller? I'm Officer Lisa Davison. Your attorney filled me in briefly. Her gaze was professional, assessing. She looked at my face, then at Samantha. The EMT is setting up in the next room. Let's get your statement first. The interview room was exactly as depicted in 1,000 cop shows. Beige, sterile, with a scarred table and recording equipment. Davison gestured for me to sit. Samantha sat beside me, placing a digital recorder of her own on the table. For our records, officer, you don't mind, do you? Davison gave a slight shrug. Standard procedure. She started the official recorder, stated the date, time, and present parties. Now, Mrs. Miller, in your own words, tell me what happened tonight. I took a steadying breath. I didn't have to act. The story spilled out, flat and precise. The strained dinner, Miranda's frequent mentions of her heirloom necklace, her disappearance to the guest room, the discovery of the theft, Jack's immediate accusation, his mention of my brother's fictional financial trouble, the demand for money, the slap, the threat to have me arrested for grand larceny, the 1-hour ultimatum. He said he would ruin me. He said he'd call you himself and tell you I'd been stealing to fund my brother's failing business. He said I'd be a convicted thief, and then he'd take everything. Davison's pen moved steadily across her notepad. And did you take the necklace, Mrs. Miller? No. I have proof I didn't. I nodded to Samantha. Samantha opened her folio. Officer Davison. My client anticipated a scenario of false accusation, given the escalating psychological and financial abuse from her husband, Jack Miller, and her mother-in-law, Miranda Miller. She took steps to protect herself. She slid a tablet across the table. On the screen was a paused video frame showing Miranda, in clear detail, placing a glittering necklace into a velvet box. This is time-stamped footage from today, 3:14 p.m., taken from a motion-activated nanny cam in the living room of the Miller residence. The audio will confirm the subject is Miranda Miller. The necklace she is holding is not a diamond heirloom. It is a cubic zirconia piece purchased from Bloomingdale's 2 days ago. Samantha swiped, bringing up a clear photo of a receipt. Receipt, also time-stamped, purchased by Miranda Miller with her credit card. Davison's eyebrows went up. She took the tablet, zooming in on the receipt. I see. Furthermore, Samantha continued, her voice cool and procedural. We have audio from approximately 2 hours ago, captured on a device in the hallway outside the guest bedroom. She tapped the screen, and Jack's voice filled the small room. Tinny from the recorder, but unmistakable. You listen to me, you ungrateful bitch. You'll go get that necklace, or you will bring me the cash equivalent. Right. Now, a pause. My own ragged breath on the recording. Did you hear me? You have 1 hour. You go downstairs. You get the money from whatever hole you've squirreled it away in, and you bring it back. I will ruin you. I will call the police. I will tell them you've been stealing to fund your brother's failing business. I will have you arrested for grand larceny in your own home. Now, go. Get the money. Samantha stopped the playback. The silence in the room was heavy. Officer Davison looked from the tablet to my face, to the vivid mark on my cheek. The professional detachment in her eyes hardened into something else. We also have documentation of a pattern of coercive financial control and infidelity on Mr. Miller's part, which establishes motive for this attempted fraud and the domestic violence incident. Samantha added, pushing a thin folder forward. Credit card statements, hotel receipts, communications with a mistress. My client has also recently come into a significant inheritance, which appears to have precipitated this escalation. Davison took the folder, scanning the first few pages. She let out a long, slow breath. Okay, that's quite a preemptive defense. Ms. Ross. She looked at me. You were smart to record this. A lot of people don't. And then it's their word against theirs. She stood up. Let's get those photos and the medical exam. Then I'll need to send a unit to the residence to speak with Mr. and Mrs. Miller about this alleged theft. I've already taken the liberty of filing for an order of protection on behalf of my client. Samantha said, not rising, given the explicit threats of further legal and reputational harm, as well as the physical violence. We're requesting a full temporary restraining order. The judge is reviewing the petition and the accompanying evidence as we speak. We expect a telephonic hearing within the hour. Davison nodded slowly. Right. Okay. Well, while you handle that, let's get Mrs. Miller checked out. She led me next door, where a young EMT, a man named Carlos, was waiting. His eyes widened slightly at my cheek. He worked gently, taking photographs with a department camera from multiple angles, then cleaning the area with a cool antiseptic wipe. No lacerations, but you've got significant contusion and swelling. Might bruise pretty impressively. Any dizziness? Nausea? Blurred vision? No, just a headache. The adrenaline was fading, leaving a deep, weary ache in its wake. That's to be expected. I'd recommend you follow up with your own doctor tomorrow. Maybe get an X-ray to rule out a hairline fracture. Ice it 20 minutes on, 20 minutes off for the next 24 hours. He handed me a small ice pack and a towel. I pressed it to my cheek, the cold a shocking relief. As I sat there, Officer Davison's radio crackled to life, a dispatcher's voice, tinny and clear. Units responding to 1025 Fifth Avenue. Report of a domestic dispute and possible larceny. Complainant is a male, Jack Miller, alleging his wife stole valuable jewelry. He's insisting on pressing charges. Davison keyed her mic 10-4. Dispatch. Be advised, the alleged perpetrator, Marian Miller, is here at the 2-0, filing a countercomplaint of assault and attempted fraud. We have evidence contradicting the larceny claim. Advise responding officers to proceed with caution and to detain both Jack and Miranda Miller for questioning regarding filing a false report and assault. I'm forwarding the case number now. She let go of the button and gave me a look that was almost sympathetic. Sounds like the party's starting at your place. The next hour was a blur of paperwork and hushed conversation. Samantha took a call in the hallway, her voice a low, confident murmur. She returned, a grim smile on her face. The TRO is granted, effective immediately. He cannot come within 1,000 feet of you, your residence, your workplace. He cannot contact you by any means. A process server is on his way to your apartment now. The police there will facilitate service. What about the arrest? For hitting me? The question felt small, childish. That's up to the DA's office. We've given them a slam dunk case.audio, visual, medical evidence, a pattern of abuse, but with a first-time offense, no prior record, and his resources, he'll likely be processed, charged with misdemeanor assault, and released on his own recognizance. The restraining order is the critical tool right now. It gives you breathing room and creates a legal record. Every time he violates it, the consequences get more severe. She placed a hand on my arm. The goal isn't necessarily to put him in jail tonight, Marianne. The goal is to dismantle his power over you, piece by piece. This, she gestured to the order on her tablet, is the first major piece. My personal phone, still powered off, felt like a lead weight in my purse. I imagined the scene in my apartment, the police arriving, Jack's smug confidence turning to confusion, then to rage as they didn't arrest me, but instead started asking him questions, as they presented him with Miranda's, Bloomingdale's receipt. As a uniformed officer handed him the temporary restraining order, Lucas, who had been waiting in the lobby, came back in, his own phone in his hand. His face was pale, but etched with a fierce satisfaction. I just got a call from Ben in 12C. He said the cops showed up about 20 minutes ago. He could hear yelling from your hallway, Jack's voice mostly. Then it stopped. Then, about 5 minutes ago, he saw Jack and Miranda being escorted out by the police. Not in cuffs, but escorted. They got into a squad car and left. Another cop stayed behind, so they'd been taken in for questioning, for filing a false report. The sheer Audacious turnaround of it made me lightheaded. We should go, Samantha said. You're staying with Lucas? Yes. Good. I've hired a private security detail. They'll meet you at his building. 2 men, rotating shifts, just for the next 72 hours, while everything is most volatile. Jack is a proud man, being made a fool of, being served with an order he won't take it well. The security is non-negotiable. I didn't have the energy to argue. I just nodded. Lucas's apartment in Tribeca was a spacious loft, all exposed brick and modern furniture. 2 large, quiet men in dark jackets were waiting in the lobby. They introduced themselves as Mark and Tom, from Sentinel Security. They did a sweep of Lucas's apartment before letting us in, then took up positions in the hallway. The familiarity of the place that Lucas's messy desk covered in circuit boards, the giant TV, the smell of his terrible coffee, that was a bomb. I sank onto his oversized sofa, the ice pack now a soggy, warm lump in my hand. Lucas handed me a glass of water and 2 Advil. Here, you should take these. I swallowed them, the water feeling like dust in my dry throat. My phone, now powered on, began to vibrate incessantly on the coffee table. Dozens of missed calls from Jack, voicemail notifications. Then texts started flooding in. Jack, what the fuck do you crazy bitch? Jack, the police were here. They took my mother. They gave me a paper. Jack, you set us up. You lying, scheming whore. Jack, call your lawyer and tell her to drop this or I will end you. Jack, I know people. You think you're safe? You're nothing. Jack, answer your phone, Marianne. Answer it. Jack, we can talk about this. This is a misunderstanding. Call me. The messages oscillated wildly between fury, threats, and a desperate, wheedling panic. I scrolled through them, a strange emptiness where the fear should have been. I took screenshots of each one, sending them in a batch to Samantha. Me, violation number 1 of the TRO, and counting. SR, excellent. Do not respond. I'll add them to the file. Get some rest. The war starts in earnest tomorrow. I put the phone face down. Lucas was watching me, his expression pained. You can stay here as long as you need. Mari, forever, if you want. I know. Luke, thank you. I managed a weak smile. I need to sleep. I feel like I've run a marathon. He showed me to the guest room, already made up. As I changed into an old t-shirt of his, I caught my reflection in the dark window. The angry red mark had already begun to purple at the edges. It was the badge of my exit, the receipt for my freedom. I lay in the unfamiliar bed, in the silent apartment, listening to the distant sounds of New York. The events of the night played on a loop behind my eyes. Jack's snarling face, Miranda's cold eyes, the crack of his palm on my skin, the calm in Officer Davison's voice, the grim approval on Samantha's face. I had walked out. I had done the thing I had spent months, maybe years, too terrified to even contemplate. And the world hadn't ended. The sky hadn't fallen. Jack wasn't an all-powerful monster. He was just a man, furious, frightened, petty man who had been caught in his own pathetic trap. A new feeling began to seep through the exhaustion, warm and steady, pushing back the chill that had lived in my bones for so long. It wasn't happiness. It wasn't relief. Not yet. It was power. My phone buzzed once more on the nightstand. A new email notification from Arthur Cogswell, my father's lawyer. The subject line was Re-urgent Asset Transfer Liquidity Confirmation. I opened it. It was short, professional, and beautiful. Marianne, per your instructions and the authorization provided by Ms. Ross, the full transfer of the inheritance portfolio to the new secure accounts at First United Trust is complete. All assets are liquid and under your sole control. The retainer for Ms. Ross's firm has been wired, as has the fee for Sentinel Security. You are, as of this moment, financially autonomous. Please call if you need anything. Your father would be proud. Arthur. I read it 3 times. Then I placed the phone back on the nightstand. I turned off the light, lying in the dark, the ghost of my father's presence, a comfort in the unfamiliar room. Jack thought he was starting a war. He was wrong. He had simply fired the first. Clumsy shot in a battle I had already spent months preparing for. He had the anger. He had the bluster. But I had the evidence. I had the law. I had the money. And for the first time in a very, very long time, I had nothing left to lose. I closed my eyes, and for the first time in years, I slept a deep, dreamless sleep. The calm before the storm I was about to unleash. The calm lasted exactly 36 hours. My phone, now permanently set to Do Not Disturb for everyone except Lucas, Samantha, and my security detail, was a silent brick. The world outside Lucas's loft, however, was beginning to churn. Samantha's plan wasn't just about legal defense. It was a multi-pronged offensive, and the first missiles were hitting their targets. The first sign was an email from Jack's lawyer, a man named Richard Thorne of Thorne, Vickers Sloan. Samantha had forwarded it to me with a single-line note. Right on schedule. Do not engage. The email was a masterpiece of indignant bluster. Ms. Ross, it has come to our attention that you are representing Ms. Marion Miller in what can only be described as a campaign of malicious lies and character assassination against our client, Mr. Jackson Miller. Ms. Miller's false allegations of domestic violence are a transparent and desperate attempt to gain leverage in an impending divorce proceeding. Following her theft of a valuable family heirloom and her subsequent flight from the marital home, we demand that you and your client immediately cease and desist this defamatory conduct. We further demand the immediate withdrawal of the fraudulent temporary order of protection, which was obtained under false pretenses. Ms. Miller is to return the stolen property, or its $250,000 value, and make herself available for questioning by the proper authorities regarding her larceny. Should you fail to comply, we will have no choice but to pursue all available legal remedies against both you and your client, including, but not limited to, claims of defamation, tortious interference, and malicious prosecution. We will also be filing for an emergency hearing to dissolve the TRO and for full custody of any shared assets. Given Ms. Miller's demonstrated instability and criminal behavior, the time for games is over. Advise your client to do the right thing. Sincerely, Richard Thorne, ESQ. I read it twice, a cold smile touching my lips. It was pure Jack, threats, projection, and a staggering sense of entitlement. He truly believed his own narrative. Samantha's reply, which she copied me on, was a scalpel. Mr. Thorne, thank you for your email. My client, Ms. Miller, denies all your baseless allegations in the strongest possible terms. The temporary order of protection was granted by Judge Evelyn Alvarez based on sworn testimony, photographic and medical evidence of assault, and audio documentation of your client's threats and attempted extortion. The NYPD has evidence, including a time-stamped receipt, that contradicts the claim of a stolen heirloom, suggesting rather a scheme to defraud my client. Regarding divorce, you are correct that one is impending. Enclosed, please find the filed petition for dissolution of marriage on behalf of Ms. Marion Miller, citing irreconcilable differences, adultery, and domestic violence. Also enclosed is a proposed separation agreement, given your client's conduct. The terms are as follows. 1. Ms. Miller is granted exclusive use and occupancy of the marital residence at 1025 Fifth Avenue, effective immediately. 2. Mr. Miller is to vacate the premises within 48 hours. 3. All liquid marital assets are to be frozen pending forensic accounting. 4. Ms. Miller seeks 80% of the total marital estate, plus her separate property, including her recent inheritance, as well as payment of all her attorney's fees. as sanction for your client's dissipation of marital funds on an extramarital affair and his abusive conduct. 5. We will be seeking a permanent restraining order based on the attached documentation of your client's repeated violations of the TRO. See attached log of 47 calls and texts within 12 hours of service. The right thing for Mr. Miller to do is to sign this agreement and avoid a public, and undoubtedly embarrassing, litigation process wherein all evidence, including that pertaining to his repeated infidelity and financial malfeasance, will be disclosed. We await your client's response. Samantha Ross, ESQ. I stared at the screen. 80%. Exclusive use of the apartment. Attorney's fees. It was nuclear, and it was glorious. He'll never agree to this. I said to Samantha over the secure video call later that morning. Mark, one of the security guys, was a silent presence in the corner of the loft, giving us privacy, but within earshot. Of course he won't, Samantha said, sipping her coffee. She was in her office, looking impeccably composed. It's the opening salvo. It establishes the outer bounds of what we're willing to accept. It tells him we're not messing around, and we have the ammunition to back it up. More importantly, it forces a reaction, and reactive people make mistakes. The reaction was not long in coming. It came in the form of a screaming phone call from Miranda to my old cell number, which went to voicemail. Samantha had advised me to keep the line active to collect evidence. Miranda's voice, shorn of its usual aristocratic drawl, was a screech of pure fury. Marianne, you wicked, wicked girl. How dare you? The police. You had the police take me in for questioning. Do you have any idea the humiliation? I have never been so insulted in my entire life. You will drop these ridiculous charges this instant. You will tell that harpy lawyer of yours to stop this nonsense. Jack is devastated. You've ruined everything with your hysterical lies. That necklace was my mother's. My mother's. You send it back. You apologize. And we might consider not pressing charges for the theft. Do you hear me? Call me back. I saved the voicemail, tagged it, and sent it to Samantha's evidence folder. Tempting offer. I muttered to myself, I get to apologize, and they might consider not prosecuting me for a crime they fabricated. The next move was mine. Samantha had arranged for a forensic accountant, a severe woman named Ingrid, to begin dissecting Jack's finances, but I had a more personal piece of evidence to deploy. I invited my friend Emma over to Lucas's loft. Emma, the interior designer who had redone our living room 2 years ago. She arrived, her face a mask of concern, and engulfed me in a hug, carefully avoiding my bruised cheek. Oh, honey, Lucas told me. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I always thought he was a prick. But this, she shook her head, her stylish bob swaying. Emma, I need to ask you something. A favor. It might be uncomfortable. Name it. When you were working on the apartment, the second time, for the master suite renovation last fall, you have a record of your appointments, right? Your calendar? Emma's eyes widened in understanding, then hardened. Oh, I do. I have a very detailed calendar, and I remember one Tuesday afternoon very clearly. I was supposed to meet with Jack to go over fabric swatches for the headboard. He'd insisted on being involved. I showed up, and he wasn't there, but his car was in the garage. I used my key. He'd given it to me for the contractors. I let myself in, thinking he was in the shower or on a call. She took a deep breath. He wasn't alone. There was a woman, young, blonde, definitely not you. They were having a cocktail in our newly tiled shower. They didn't hear me come in. I left immediately. My stomach turned, but the pain was distant, clinical. Would you be willing to give a statement to my lawyer and possibly testify if it goes to court? Emma's face set in a determined line, in a heartbeat. That slimy bastard. And the prenup protects my assets, not his. Adultery matters in New York for distribution. It shows reckless disregard for the marriage. It helps our case for the unequal distribution I'm asking for. Good, Emma said, her voice fierce. Let's burn him to the ground. The storm broke publicly 3 days later. I was sitting with Samantha in a quiet back room of a cafe near her office, reviewing the divorce petition filing, when Lucas texted me a link. Luke, check page 6. Now, my heart did a strange little stutter. Page 6, the New York Post's gossip column, the playground and graveyard of Manhattan socialites. I clicked the link. The headline was brutal. Hedge fund husband in heiress slap scandal. Sources say Jack Miller of Apex Capital left a mark on wife Marianne after phony jewelry feud. The article was a masterpiece of insinuation. It didn't outright accuse, but it laid out the facts with devastating clarity. A source close to the estranged wife revealed the inheritance from her recently deceased father. Another source familiar with the incident described the confrontation over the missing heirloom necklace. A third, law enforcement insider, confirmed the police were investigating a domestic disturbance and potential fraud after the wife presented compelling evidence the necklace was a cheap fake. It mentioned Jack being escorted from his Tony Fifth Avenue building for questioning, and noted the bombshell TRO filed by high-profile divorce attorney Samantha Ross. It ended with a seemingly innocuous line. Miller, known for his lavish, entertaining, and high-profile deals, has not responded to requests for comment. Calls to Apex Capital were referred to the legal department. There was no photo of my bruised face. Samantha had locked that down, but the implication was clear. The narrative was set. Wealthy heiress, victim of brutal husband's fraudulent scheme. You leaked it, I said, looking up at Samantha. It wasn't an accusation. She took a delicate sip of her tea. A strategically curated narrative was provided to a reputable journalist. The truth is a powerful weapon, Marianne, but in the court of public opinion, perception is everything. Right now, Jack Miller is not a powerful financier. He's a man who hits his wife and tries to frame her for theft. His clients, his partners, they don't like that kind of smell. It's bad for business. My phone buzzed. It was a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, a text from the same number appeared. Unknown. Marianne. It's David from Apex. Jack's partner. We need to talk. It's urgent. This is a disaster. I showed the phone to Samantha. She nodded slowly. The first crack in the wall. Don't answer. Let him sweat. Let Jack explain to his partners why the firm's name is in the gossip rags attached to a domestic violence scandal. The cracks widened faster than I could have imagined. By that afternoon, Jack's angry, threatening texts had stopped. In their place came a new tone, desperate, pleading. Jack, Marianne, please. We need to talk. This has gotten out of hand. Jack, my firm is going insane. The board is asking questions. This is my career. Jack, I'm sorry about the slap. I lost my temper. You have to understand the pressure I'm under. Jack, we can work this out. Just you and me. No lawyers. We can fix this. Each message was a screenshot sent to Samantha's evidence folder. The violation log for the TRO was now pages long. Samantha's response was to file a motion for a permanent restraining order, attaching all the violations, and to formally serve Jack with notice of Emma's deposition and the forensic accounting subpoena for all his personal and business financial records from the last 5 years. The final move of the day was the one I'd been dreading and craving in equal measure, the confrontation. Jack, through Thorne, had demanded a civilized discussion to avoid further embarrassment for all parties. Samantha agreed, on strict conditions. It would be in her office conference room, with both attorneys present. I would have my security detail, Mark, posted outside the door. Jack would come alone. Any violation of the TRO's distance requirement would be waived for the duration of the meeting only. When I walked into the conference room, Jack was already there, flanked by Richard Thorne, a man with the polished, tired look of expensive cleaner. Jack looked diminished. His suit was rumpled. His eyes were bloodshot, and the arrogant set of his jaw was gone, replaced by a twitchy tension. He looked at me, and for a second, I saw sheer, unadulterated hatred. Then it was washed over by a pathetic attempt at remorse. "Marianne," he said, his voice rough, you look well. I didn't sit. I remained standing by the door, with Samantha at the head of the table. "Let's dispense with the performance. Jack, you wanted to talk. Talk." Thorne cleared his throat. "My client is here in good faith, Ms. Ross, to see if we can resolve this unfortunate situation amicably. The publicity is damaging to everyone. The publicity is a direct result of your client's criminal and abusive behavior." Samantha said coolly, "We are not responsible for the consequences of his actions." Jack's mask slipped. "Criminal, you're the one who set me up. You and that little camera. You planned this." "I planned to protect myself from a false accusation and a violent husband," I said, my voice steady. "You planned to steal my inheritance by having your mother pretend I stole a necklace. Which one of those sounds criminal to you?" "Jack, it was a misunderstanding." He snapped. "My mother was confused. She's getting older. Her Bloomingdale's receipt from 2 days ago suggests a very clear-minded understanding of a purchase." Samantha interjected. "The DA is reviewing the evidence for fraud charges against her, and possibly against you as an accomplice." That landed like a physical blow. Jack paled. Thorne put a restraining hand on his arm. "We are not here to litigate hypothetical criminal matters. We are here to discuss the divorce. My client is prepared to be generous. A one-time payment of $500,000 in lieu of any further claims. And you walk away. Clean break." I actually laughed. It was a short, brittle sound. 500,000. My inheritance is worth 20 times that. The apartment is worth 15 million. And you want to give me a $500,000 bribe to go away after you tried to have me arrested and hit me in the face? I took a step forward, leaning on the table. "No, Jack, you don't get to buy your way out of this. Here's the deal. You sign the separation agreement Samantha sent. You get the 40% of the marital assets that aren't tied to your affair spending. You vacate the apartment. You pay my legal fees. And you issue a public statement admitting you lied about the necklace and that you struck me. Then, maybe, I won't push for criminal charges on the assault. Maybe I let the fraud investigation against your mother fade away." His face contorted with rage. "You're insane. I'm not admitting to anything. And I'm not giving you my home. It's our home." I corrected him. "And under the terms of the prenup you insisted on, acquired during the marriage. It's marital property. And given the audio evidence of you ordering me to get out, a judge will look very favorably on my request for exclusive occupancy. Especially," I added, "with the photos of my face. This is extortion," he shouted, slamming his hand on the table. "No," Samantha said, her voice like ice. "This is negotiation, based on leverage. Your leverage, Mr. Miller, appears to be your temper and your mother's poor shopping habits. Ours is a video of said mother planting false evidence, an audio recording of you committing assault and attempted extortion, a witness to your adultery, a forensic accountant about to crawl through your finances, and a page 6 article that has your partners at Apex Capital wondering if you're more liability than asset. So I suggest you adjust your definition of generous." Thorne was looking at his client with a mix of horror and resignation. He could see the chessboard, and all of Jack's pieces were in jeopardy. Jack stood up, his chair scraping loudly. He pointed a trembling finger at me. "You think you've won? You haven't. I'll drag you through every court in this state. I'll spend every last dime I have to make your life hell. You'll get nothing. Nothing. Careful, Jack," I said, not moving an inch. "That sounds an awful lot like a threat. Another violation. Mark?" I raised my voice slightly. The conference room door opened, and Mark, all 6'4" of solid muscle, filled the doorway. Everything all right? Ms. Miller? Mr. Miller was just leaving. Samantha said, smoothly, Richard, I suggest you take your client and explain the facts of life to him. The offer on the table is the best he is going to see. It gets significantly worse once we begin discovery and the depositions. Have a good day. Jack looked from me to Samantha, to the impassive mountain of a security guard. The reality of his predicament seemed to crash down on him finally. The bluster left him, leaving behind a hollow, shaken man. He turned without another word and stalked out, Thorne scrambling to collect his briefcase and follow. When the door closed, I let out a long, shuddering breath. My knees felt weak. Samantha came around the table and put a hand on my shoulder. You did well. He's cornered. Cornered animals are dangerous, but they're also predictable. He'll lash out. The next move will be legal. He'll file something frivolous to try and slow us down. Cost us money. Probably sue you for defamation or some such nonsense. We'll sweat it away. But the tide has turned. Marianne. He knows it. My phone buzzed. A notification from a news alert. I opened it. It was a short piece in a financial blog. Apex Capital announces leave of absence for partner Jack Miller amid personal matters. I showed it to Samantha. She smiled, a real, sharp smile, and there it is, the first domino. His professional fortress is breached. She looked at me. Go home. Get some rest. The next round is his. We'll be ready. I walked out of the building into the bright afternoon sun. Mark a step behind me. The city noise, the smell of exhaust and pretzels, the rush of people. IT all felt different. I wasn't a ghost anymore. I was a woman with a bruised face, a ruthless lawyer, a mountain of evidence, and a growing sense that for the first time in a long, long time, I was fighting a battle I could actually win. The war wasn't over, but the evidence storm was raging. And for now, I was the one holding the lightning. The silence in Lucas's loft was a living thing. It wasn't the suffocating quiet of the apartment on Fifth Avenue, thick with judgment and disdain. This was a watchful quiet, punctuated by the hum of servers in Lucas's lab nook and the occasional crackle of Mark's radio in the hallway. It was the sound of safety, and I was still learning how to breathe in it. My phone, now a dedicated evidence collection tool, buzzed with a calendar alert. Deposition prep, Emma, 10 a.m. Right on time. The intercom buzzed. Mark's voice came through the speaker. Low and professional. Ms. Miller, your guest, Emma Vance, is here. Clearance verified. Send her up. Mark, thank you. Emma swept in, carrying a leather portfolio and a determined expression. She hugged me, her eyes doing a quick, assessing flick to my cheek. The bruise had faded to a sickly yellow-green, a map of the old life. You look stronger, she declared, dropping her bag on the sofa. How are you holding up? One day at a time. Some are better than others. Seeing his face in that conference room, it helped. I offered her coffee. Thank you for doing this. Eminencia. Really. Please. It's the most interesting thing I've done all year. Besides, watching that prick squirm, priceless. She opened her portfolio, pulling out a printed calendar and a few sheets of notes. Okay, I've reconstructed everything. The master's suite renovation was September through November of last year. The incident I told you about was Tuesday, October 12th. I have the appointment in my book, confirmed via email with Jack. She slid a printout toward me. It was an email thread. Jack, let's finalize the tile. 3 p.m. Tuesday works. Don't bring Marianne. She'll just overthink it. My jaw tightened. Charming. I've also pulled all the invoices and delivery schedules. Emma continued. There's a 2-hour window that afternoon where no contractors were scheduled. He planned it. She took a deep breath. Samantha said I need to be ready to describe what I saw. So, I let myself in with the key code he'd given me. I heard laughter from the master bath. I assumed it was you. I called out, "Hello? Jack?" The laughter stopped. Then I heard a woman's voice, shushing, giggling. I walked down the hall. The bathroom door was ajar. Steam was coming out. I saw a blonde woman, younger, in the shower with him. They were intertwined. He had his back to the door. I backed out immediately and left. I texted him 5 minutes later saying I'd been delayed and we'd reschedule. He never acknowledged it. She was clinical, precise. It was perfect. Will you be okay saying that on the record? In a room with him? Emma's smile was thin. I'd pay for the privilege. I've also been thinking, that woman, I've seen her somewhere since. At a gallery opening. Maybe. I'll work on it. After Emma left, fortified with coffee and righteous fury, Lucas emerged from his room, bleary-eyed. He'd been up all night. He said, optimizing some data, recovery protocols. He placed a sleek, new laptop in front of me. This is yours. Clean, encrypted, no connection to anything you've ever used. Samantha has the credentials. I've also done some digging. He pulled up a chair, his face serious. Jack's been using a pretty basic secure delete function on his old work laptop, the one you found. Corporate IT standard. It's meant to deter casual snoops. Not well. Not me. I've been able to reconstruct a significant portion of the deleted communications with Chloe. It's not just emails. It's Venmo transactions, hotel bookings made through a dummy travel agency he set up. The money trail is sloppy. Mari, he paid for a lot of it from what looks like a discretionary business account, the one tied to his client entertainment budget. This was new. This was big. You can prove that he used company funds for an affair? Lucas nodded. I've compiled a ledger. Dates, amounts, recipients, corresponding emails referencing the meetings that never happened. I've sent it all to Samantha. She said it's a potential goldmine for the forensic accountant and could be considered embezzlement. His partners at Apex will love that. A feeling, hot and fierce, bloomed in my chest. My little brother, the tech genius, was weaponizing his skills for me. Luke, this is huge and dangerous. If he finds out you're hacking, he won't. And it's not hacking. The laptop was abandoned marital property. You had every right to access it for personal files. The data recovery is a technical service for your divorce proceedings. He gave me a lopsided grin. I have a very good lawyer. My own lawyer called an hour later. Marianne. Lucas's package is extraordinary. Ingrid, the forensic accountant, is salivating. This gives us a direct line into Apex's internal controls. More importantly, I just got off the phone with Richard Thorne. Jack is filing a counter-motion today to dismiss the TRO and for sanctions against us for frivolous litigation. He's also, and you'll love this, filing a civil suit against you. For what? I asked, the familiar cold trickle of dread starting, quickly quashed by a hotter surge of anger. Defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and Samantha's voice took on a note of dry amusement. Tortious interference with his business relationships. He's claiming you and Lucas conspired to steal proprietary trading algorithms from Apex to benefit Lucas's startup. And when he confronted you, you fabricated the abuse story to cover it up. I actually laughed. A short, shocked bark. That's insane. Lucas's company does predictive logistics software. It has nothing to do with high-frequency trading. Of course it's insane. It's a classic, desperate move. Sue first, ask questions later. It's meant to intimidate, drag us into multiple litigation fronts, and drain resources. He's hoping we'll fold under the weight of legal bills. He doesn't know about your inheritance's liquidity. This is him playing the only card he thinks he has left. Brute financial force. What do? We sweat it like the gnat it is. I'll have motions to dismiss filed before the ink is dry on his complaint. More importantly, we proceed with our plan. The permanent restraining order hearing is in 3 days. We're going to bury him. I want you to write a victim impact statement, not for the judge, for you, to read aloud in that courtroom, with him sitting there. Can you do that? I looked out the window at the New York skyline. I thought of the crack of his hand, the gleam in Miranda's eye, the years of silent diminishment. Yes, I said, I can do that. The hearing for the permanent order of protection was in a functional, grim family courtroom. Jack sat with Thorne at the defendant's table, wearing a suit that seemed to hang on him. He refused to look at me. Miranda was in the front row of the gallery, her face a thundercloud. Our case was presented by Samantha with merciless efficiency. She entered the medical photos, the audio recording. She played the 30-second clip of Jack's threats. The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Judge Rivera, listened with a stony face. Officer Davison testified, confirming the evidence and the false police report. Then, Samantha called me to the stand. Ms. Miller, please describe the events of the evening of November 12th. I did, calmly, clearly. I described the slap, the ultimatum, the fear. And since the temporary order was granted, has the respondent contacted you? Yes, Your Honor. 47 times via text and call in the first 12 hours. I have the logs. The messages progressed from threats to bargaining. Samantha entered them into evidence. Thorne's cross-examination was feeble. Ms. Miller, isn't it true you were angry about your husband's relationship with another woman? And that you concocted this story to punish him and gain the upper hand in a divorce? Objection. Assumes facts, not in evidence, and badgers the witness. Samantha said, sustained. Thorne tried another tack, the so-called stolen necklace. You admit you had issues with your mother-in-law? I had issues with her falsely accusing me of a felony. Yes. A faint smirk touched the judge's lips. Thorne sat down, defeated. Then Samantha said, Your Honor, the petitioner wishes to read a brief statement. Judge Rivera nodded. Proceed. I unfolded the single sheet of paper. My hands were steady. I did not look at Jack. I looked at the judge. Your Honor, for 7 years, my life was a series of small surrenders. My opinions, my friendships, my financial independence, my sense of self. The slap wasn't the first injury Jack Miller inflicted on me. It was just the first one that left a visible mark. That night, when he ordered me to get money, I didn't steal to pay for a crime that never happened. Something in me broke, but it wasn't my spirit that broke. It was my silence. I am not here today because I am afraid he will hit me again, though I believe he would. I am here because the order you grant today isn't just a piece of paper telling him to stay away. It is a document that says, for the first time, the law sees me. It sees the truth. It sees the man behind the expensive suit. And it sees the mark he left, not just on my face, but on my life. I need the court to tell him, and to tell me, that the surrenders are over. Thank you. The courtroom was silent. Judge Rivera's gaze was unwavering. She then turned to Thorne. Does the respondent have anything to add? Jack stood up, his face mottled with rage and humiliation. This is all a lie. She's a liar and a schemer. She's trying to destroy me. Sit down. Mr. Miller, Judge Rivera said, her voice like a slammed door. I've heard enough. The petition for a permanent order of protection is granted. The terms of the temporary order are made permanent for a period of 2 years. Any violation will result in immediate arrest. Furthermore, given the respondent's conduct in this courtroom and the overwhelming evidence of harassment, I am ordering him to surrender any firearms he may possess within 24 hours. Next case. The gavel cracked. It was over. As we walked out, Jack shoved past his lawyer, getting in my face, ignoring Mark, who stepped smoothly between us. This isn't over. Marianne. He hissed, his voice low and venomous. You think you've won? You have no idea what I'm capable of. Samantha took my arm. Let's go. He's just noise now. But as we walked away, I glanced back. Jack was standing in the hallway, staring after us. But he wasn't looking at me. He was looking at Lucas, who stood protectively beside me. And the look in his eyes wasn't just anger. It was a cold, calculating focus. The victory in the courtroom was real, but the look on Jack's face was a chilling reminder. A cornered animal, when it stops raging, starts planning. And my brother had just moved to the top of his list. The permanent restraining order was a victory, but the battlefield had simply shifted. The following week was a grinding war of legal maneuvers, each more desperate than the last. I was reviewing the latest forensic accounting report with Samantha in her office when her assistant buzzed in. Voice tense. Ms. Ross. A process server just delivered this for Ms. Miller. It's from the State Supreme Court. Commercial Division. Samantha took the thick envelope, her lips thinning as she scanned the first page. He did it. He's filed the civil suit. Jack Miller versus Marion Miller and Lucas Carter. Claims: theft of trade secrets, tortious interference, computer fraud. A cold knot tightened in my stomach. He's suing Luke? On what grounds? On the grounds that it's terrifyingly effective. Samantha said grimly, flipping pages. He's alleging that you, as my client, provided Lucas with unauthorized access to his Apex-issued laptop, and that Lucas used hacking techniques to extract proprietary trading algorithms. He's claiming millions in damages and seeking an immediate injunction to freeze Lucas's company assets and seize all his devices. That's impossible. Lucas's work has nothing to do with finance. It doesn't have to be true. It just has to be expensive and scary to fight. It's a classic SLAPP suit, strategic lawsuit against public participation, meant to silence critics by burdening them with legal costs. Only this time, the critic is your brother. She looked at me. He's targeting your support system. Marianne, it's what I warned you about. Cornered animals go for the weak spot. He thinks Lucas is your weak spot. He's wrong, I said, the fear solidifying into a hard, clear anger. He's just made it personal in a whole new way. What do? We countersue. For malicious prosecution and abuse of process, we file a motion to dismiss under the anti-SLAPP statute, which, if we win, means he pays all our legal fees for defending against this nonsense. But it takes time, and Lucas will have to deal with depositions. E-discovery, it's a cloud over his business, right when he's seeking more funding. My phone vibrated. It was Lucas. I put it on speaker. Luke, Samantha's here. We just got the papers. His voice was tight, controlled. Yeah, my lawyer just called. My board is concerned. They've called an emergency meeting. This is exactly what Jack wants. To tie us up, to make me look like a liability. We'll beat this. Luke, I said, but the doubt was a serpent in my gut. I know we will, but in the meantime, I have to play defense. I've already isolated and encrypted all our core IP. He won't get near it, but the optics. He sighed. I have to go deal with this. Keep me posted. The call ended. The room felt colder. Samantha leaned forward. We need to go back on the offensive. The divorce. We have the permanent order. We have Emma's deposition scheduled for next week. We have the financials showing his misappropriation of funds. We need to force a settlement conference. Now, before he can do any more damage to Lucas. 2 days later, we were in a different, more neutral mediation room. Jack arrived with Thorne, who looked even more harried. Jack himself had a bruised, hollow look. The page 6 article and the leave of absence from Apex were taking a visible toll. The mediator, a retired judge, laid out the ground rules. Samantha went first, outlining our position with ruthless clarity. 80% of assets, the apartment, attorney's fees, based on adultery, dissipation of assets, and domestic violence. Thorne sputtered. Preposterous. My client is the victim of a coordinated character assassination. We will not be extorted. It's not extortion. It's equitable distribution under New York law. Samantha corrected. Your client dissipated marital funds on an extramarital affair. We have the receipts. He committed an act of domestic violence. We have the order. He attempted to defraud my client. The police have the evidence. The court has already weighed in on his credibility. We are simply calculating the financial consequences. Jack finally spoke, his voice a low growl. You want to talk about consequences? What about the lawsuit against your brother? That's going to bury him. I'll see to it. I didn't let Samantha answer. I looked directly at him. Sue him all you want. Jack, it's a frivolous suit, and you'll lose. And when you do, under the anti-SLAPP law, you'll be writing a check to cover all his legal fees. How will that look to the partners at Apex? Or to a judge deciding if you can afford to pay my legal fees? He flinched. He hadn't considered that. Thorne clearly hadn't warned him. Samantha pressed the advantage. Let's talk reality. Richard, your client is on leave. His reputation is in tatters. The evidence we have on the financial malfeasance alone is enough for us to drag this out for years, during which time my client lives in the marital home and your client pays temporary support. Or, we can settle this today. Our offer is actually rather generous. Given the circumstances. Generous? Jack choked out. Counter. Thorne said, quickly, shooting Jack a warning look. We offer a straight 50-50 division of identified marital assets. No exclusive occupancy. No admission of fault. Each party covers their own legal fees. We mutually agree to drop all ancillary litigation. He meant the suit against Lucas. Samantha smiled. A predator's smile. No, the offer is 75/25 in my client's favor. Exclusive occupancy. And you pay her fees. And you instruct the DA that your mother will provide a full, truthful statement about the necklace scheme, accepting responsibility in exchange for immunity that gets the fraud investigation off her back. Those are the terms. The room went silent. Jack was staring at me, a mixture of hatred and a dawning, horrifying realization. I wasn't the woman he'd slapped anymore. I was a strategist across a table, and I held all the cards. My mother, he began weakly, will avoid a criminal record if she cooperates. I finished for him. It's a good deal. Jack, the best you're going to get. Sign it, and you can start trying to salvage what's left of your career. Fight it, and we'll see you in court for the divorce. For the assault charge, and for your mother's fraud, we'll subpoena your mistress. Chloe, we'll introduce every hotel receipt, every Venmo for drinks. How do you think that will play on the front page of the Post? Hedge fund hubby used client cash for cheating. His face was ashen. Thorne was scribbling notes. His shoulders slumped. He knew he had them. I need to confer with my client. Thorne said, his voice defeated. You have until 5 p.m. tomorrow. Samantha said, gathering her papers. After that, the offer drops to 80/20ths, and we file a motion to add punitive damages for the frivolous suit against Mr. Carter. We stood to leave. As we reached the door, Jack's voice, stripped of all its power, barely a whisper, stopped me. Marianne. I turned. Was it worth it? Destroying me? I held his gaze for a long moment, letting him see the woman he'd never really seen. You did that all by yourself. Jack, I'm just cleaning up the mess. We walked out. In the elevator, Samantha let out a long breath. He'll take it. Thorne will make him. The mother is the pressure point. He can't let her get charged. And Lucas? The suit against him disappears as part of the deal. Jack drops it with prejudice. It's over. When we got to the curb, my phone buzzed. A news alert. I opened it, my breath catching. Apex Capital initiates internal review after reports of misused funds. Partner Jack Miller's leave of absence made permanent. Sources say. I showed it to Samantha. She nodded slowly. There goes the last of his leverage. He has no income, a dying reputation, and a mother facing jail. He'll sign. I got into the waiting car, the city blurring past. The victory felt hollow, scraped raw, but it was a victory. Lucas was safe. The apartment was mine. The legal nightmare was receding. Yet, as I looked at the text from Lucas, board meeting over, they're standing by me. For now, I knew the war wasn't about houses or money. It was about survival. And for today, we had survived. The crossfire had been brutal, but we were still standing. And Jack Miller was finally, undeniably, falling. The email from Richard Thorne arrived at 4:58 p.m. the next day. Samantha read it aloud, her voice flat and professional, but I could see the faint, victorious tightening at the corners of her eyes. Ms. Ross, my client, Mr. Jackson Miller, accepts, in principle, the terms outlined in your latest proposal. We require the following amendments. 1. The division of liquid assets to be 70/30ths in Ms. Miller's favor, not 75/25ths. 2. A confidentiality clause binding all parties. 3. The fraud inquiry into Miranda Miller must be formally closed with a written declination of prosecution from the DA's office prior to final signature. If these points are agreeable, we can proceed to draft the final settlement agreement and mutual releases. Sincerely, Richard Thorne, ESQ. Samantha looked up from her screen. He's bargaining for his mother and a slightly bigger slice of what's left. The confidentiality clause is standard. He doesn't want you writing a memoir. The 70/30 is a concession, but it's still a landslide in your favor. The DA's office. I can make that happen. Miranda gives a statement. They close the file. It's a trade. We were in Lucas's loft. He was pacing by the windows. He's dropping the suit against me? Completely? With prejudice? That's part of the mutual releases. He drops all claims against you. You drop all claims against him. It'll be ironclad. Samantha assured him. Do it, I said. The words felt final. The 70/30ths is fine. I just want it over. I want him out of my life. Samantha nodded, her fingers already flying over her keyboard. I'll draw up the agreement. It'll take a day. Then we meet, sign, and file with the court simultaneously. Once the judge stamps it, it's done. You're divorced. The next 36 hours were a suspended animation. I didn't leave the loft. I sorted through the digital remnants of my old life, deleting joint accounts, changing passwords. I called Arthur Cogswell and instructed him to prepare for a significant incoming wired Y share of the settlement. The morning of the signing, I dressed with a deliberate, simple elegance, a crisp white shirt, black trousers, armor. Mark drove Samantha and me to her offices. Lucas came separately with his own lawyer. The conference room felt different this time. The air wasn't charged with impending conflict. It was thick with grim finality. Jack and Thorne were already seated. Jack looked like he hadn't slept. His expensive suit couldn't hide the defeat in his posture. Miranda was not present. Thorne had a stack of documents in front of him a foot high. No one spoke as we sat. Samantha distributed copies of the settlement agreement, a dense document of over 100 pages. Review it, she said, her tone cool. All the terms are as negotiated. Exhibit A lists the marital assets and the 70/30th split. Exhibit B is the schedule for Mr. Miller to remove his personal effects from the Fifth Avenue property. Exhibit C is the mutual release of all claims, including the dismissal with prejudice of the suit Miller versus Carter. Exhibit D is the confidentiality and non-disparagement clause. The language regarding the fraud inquiry is on page 87. The DA has provided the attached letter confirming the case will be closed upon Mrs. Miranda Miller's signed statement, which we have here. She placed a single sheet of paper in the center of the table. It was a handwritten statement, in the loopy, affected script I recognized as Miranda's. I, Miranda Miller, admit that I purchased a costume jewelry necklace from Bloomingdale's on November 10th. I placed this necklace in my jewelry box and subsequently claimed it was a valuable family heirloom that had been stolen. I did this to cause distress to my daughter-in-law, Marion Miller. I regret my actions. It was a masterpiece of minimal admission. But it was enough. Jack wouldn't look at it. My client will sign that after the settlement is executed. Thorne said quietly. Understood. Samantha looked at me, then at Lucas and his attorney. Any questions? Lucas's lawyer, a quiet, efficient man named Choi, shook his head. The release is satisfactory. My client signs on the condition that the dismissal of their suit is filed concurrently. Agreed. I looked at Jack. Where is she? Too ashamed to face the music she composed? His head snapped up, the old fury flashing. Don't you talk about her. Or what, Jack? I asked, my voice dangerously soft. You've run out of, or what's? Sign the papers. Thorne put a hand on Jack's arm. Jack, for God's sake, let's just finish this. The signing took an hour. Initial here, initial there, signature on the final page. A notary public stamped and signed each copy. The sound of the pen scratching was the only noise. When it was done, Samantha gathered the executed copies. I will file these with the court and forward fully executed copies to you. Richard, the dismissal in the civil suit will be filed this afternoon. Mr. Miller, you have 72 hours to remove your belongings from the premises. A security detail chosen by Ms. Miller will supervise. You will return all keys, codes, and access fobs at that time. Jack stood up, his chair scraping back. He looked at me, and for a second, the hatred was so pure it was almost impressive. Then it crumpled into something hollow. I hope it was worth it. All of it. I stood as well, meeting his gaze evenly. The apartment? The money? I shook my head slowly. No, Jack, the only thing that was worth it was watching you finally face a consequence you couldn't bully, bribe, or lie your way out of. That was priceless. I turned and walked out of the room, Lucas and Samantha behind me. I didn't look back. 1 week later, it was done. The divorce decree arrived via certified mail. A single piece of paper declaring me unmarried. I sat on the floor of the Fifth Avenue apartment, my apartment, surrounded by boxes. Jack's things were gone, hauled away by sullen movers under Mark's watchful eye. The space felt different, lighter. The silence was no longer oppressive. It was peaceful. Lucas came over, carrying a bottle of champagne and a pizza. Housewarming, or apartment reclaiming. We sat on the floor, the pizza box between us. He popped the cork. To you, he said, pouring the fizzy wine into paper cups. To being free of that asshole. We clinked. The champagne tasted like victory and relief. What about you? I asked. The board? Suit is dismissed. Permanently. The cloud is gone. The funding round is back on track. Jack's little stunt actually pissed off some of my investors. They saw it for the harassment it was. It might have even helped. He grinned. Karma's a bitch. My phone buzzed. An alert from a financial app. I opened it. The wire from the settlement had cleared. The number, even after taxes and Samantha's substantial but worth every penny fee, was staggering. It was security. It was freedom. It was choices. A second message came from Samantha. Final matter closed. Miranda's statement accepted. DA's office declines to prosecute. File sealed. It's over. Truly. Call me next week. We'll discuss the foundation. The foundation. We talked about it in abstract terms. Using a portion of the money to help other women trapped in situations like mine. Providing resources for legal aid. Safe housing. Financial counseling. Turning the poison of the past into medicine for someone else. The idea gave the whole ugly fight a meaning beyond my own survival. I looked around the empty, sunlit room. The ghosts were gone. The fear was gone. All that was left was space, and light, and a future I had clawed back for myself. You know, Lucas said, following my gaze, we should rip out that awful kitchen island. It always looked like a tombstone. I laughed. A real, unburdened laugh. Tomorrow, I said. For today, let's just sit here and breathe. And for the first time in 7 years, I did. I breathed in the air of a home that was truly mine, filled with a silence I owned, a peace I had fought for, and a future that was, for the first time, terrifyingly, beautifully blank. The score was settled. The game was over. I had won. And now, I had to figure out what to do with the rest of my life. The thought, for the first time, didn't fill me with dread. It filled me with a quiet, steady hope. 6 months later, the air in the courtroom was stale, recycled, and thick with anticipation. I sat in the back row, anonymous in a simple navy dress, watching. This wasn't my fight anymore. It was the state of New York's. At the defendant's table, Jack Miller looked like a cheap photocopy of his former self. The suit was off the rack, the confidence replaced by a twitchy, hunted expression. His lawyer, a public defender, was whispering frantically to him. Richard Thorne was long gone, his expensive services no longer affordable. The charge, grand larceny in the 3rd degree, not against me, against Apex Capital, the ADA. A sharp woman named Gutierrez was laying out her case for the jury. The defendant, facing personal financial ruin after a costly divorce and loss of employment, sought to replenish his coffers. He did so by creating false client expense reports, funneling over $400,000 into a shell account over a period of 7 months. He believed his position and the chaos of his departure would cover his tracks. He was wrong. She presented the evidence Lucas had first uncovered: the Venmo trails, the dummy travel agency invoices, the discretionary fund transfers that had nothing to do with client entertainment, and everything to do with maintaining a lifestyle he could no longer afford. The forensic accountant, Ingrid, testified with cool precision. A former junior partner from Apex took the stand, confirming the internal audit that had been triggered by irregularities and the suspicious timing of the expenses, which continued even after his leave of absence began. Jack's defense was pathetic. He claimed it was a misunderstanding, an accounting error, that he'd intended to repay the funds. But the paper trail was a confession written in dollar signs. The jury's faces were stone when the forewoman stood. It took her less than 30 seconds to say it. Guilty. Jack's head dropped into his hands. His mother, Miranda, seated directly behind him, let out a small, choked sound. She was alone. No society friends flanked her today. As the bailiff led Jack away, he turned and saw her. The look that passed between them wasn't of maternal support, but of pure, scorching accusation. Your fault. His eyes screamed. Your stupid necklace scheme started it all. Miranda stood abruptly, her face a mask of outraged dignity that was cracking at the edges. She hurried out, head high, but her gait was unsteady. I saw her in the hallway, fumbling with her phone, her voice a desperate hiss. Harrison, it's Miranda. The verdict, it's a travesty. We'll need to appeal. Of course. Harrison, her shoulders slumped. He'd hung up. Even her lawyer was cutting her loose. I felt nothing watching him be cuffed. No schadenfreude, no pity, just a distant, clinical acknowledgement of cause and effect. He had built his life on a foundation of lies and entitlement. It was only a matter of time before it collapsed. I had simply stopped propping it up. The Marianne Carter Foundation. I liked the sound of that. I looked across the desk at Samantha Ross. We were in the bright, airy offices of the fledgling nonprofit, a renovated townhouse in the village. My name was on the lease. My divorce settlement had furnished it. But it wasn't about me. It's not a vanity project. Sam, I said, shuffling the strategic plan. It's a toolbox. Legal grants for women who can't afford a U. Safe house vouchers. Financial literacy workshops. A 24/7 hotline staffed by advocates. I know, she said, her expression softer than I'd ever seen it. That's why I'm joining the board. Pro bono. Your father, he'd be incredibly proud. His name still brought a pang, but now it was accompanied by warmth, not just grief. He'd given me the means to not only save myself, but to try and throw a rope to others. I'd met with Arthur Cogswell the week before, and we'd toasted Dad with the cheap scotch he'd loved. He always said you had a fighter spirit. Marianne, Arthur had said, eyes glistening. He just hated that you had to use it in your own home. My phone lit up with a text. It was from Ben, a guy I'd been seeing for a few months. A professor of art history. Kind, steady, with no interest in finance or social climbing. Dinner tonight? I found that obscure Italian place you mentioned. My treat, to celebrate your board meeting. A simple, normal text. It didn't make my heart race with anxiety. It made it glow with quiet contentment. I'd love that. 8 p.m. Samantha raised an eyebrow. The professor? The professor. Good. You deserve a boring, stable, nice man. I laughed. He's not boring. He's peaceful. After she left, I walked to the window. Below, the city teemed with life. My city now. I own my home. I was building something that mattered. My brother was thriving. My circle of friends was small, real, and fiercely loyal. The final piece of closure came in an email later that afternoon. It was from a headhunter. Subject line, Opportunity, Apex Capital. I almost deleted it. Then I opened it. Dear Ms. Carter, I am writing on behalf of the new executive leadership team at Apex Capital. In the wake of recent transitions, the firm is undertaking a significant overhaul of its culture and compliance practices. We are seeking to establish an independent ethics advisory board. Your recent, highly public experience, combined with your stated commitment to corporate accountability through your foundation work, has brought you to our attention. We believe your perspective would be invaluable. This would be a compensated, part-time position. We understand this may be an unconventional approach, but we believe in symbolic as well as substantive change. Would you be open to a conversation? I stared at the words. Symbolic change, they wanted to parade me, the wife who blew the whistle, as a trophy of their new integrity. A part of me, the part that was still Marian Miller, wanted to write a scathing reply. The part of me that was Marian Carter, founder, survivor, considered it. I hit reply. Thank you for your message. I am currently fully committed to the launch of the Marian Carter Foundation, which assists individuals facing exploitation and a lack of institutional accountability. Should Apex wish to make a substantial, multi-year philanthropic commitment to the foundation, I would be happy to discuss how your firm's resources could support meaningful, on-the-ground change. I would then consider an introductory conversation. Best, Marian Carter. It was a deflection, a test, and a power move. The ball was in their court. I wasn't a victim to be used for their PR. I was a player with my own terms. That evening, over perfect pasta in a tiny West Village restaurant, I told Ben about the email. He listened, swirling his wine. And will you talk to them? I don't know. Maybe. If the price is right for the foundation. Not for me. For the foundation. I took a bite. It's strange. I don't hate him anymore. Jack, I just don't think about him. He's become a cautionary tale I use in grant applications. Ben reached across the table, his hand covering mine. That's called healing, and it's the best revenge of all. Later, back in my apartment at M.Y. Sanctuary of Clean Lines and Chosen Art, I opened the small safe where I kept my most important documents. Next to the divorce decree was a sealed envelope, the last thing Arthur Cogswell had given me for my father's effects. I'd been saving it. I slid it open. It wasn't a legal document. It was a letter, in his familiar, cramped handwriting. My dearest Marianne, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and you've gotten the money. Don't you dare feel guilty. It's not a gift. It's ammunition. I never liked that husband of yours. He talked at you, not to you. A man's character is in his eyes, and his were always calculating, never kind, but it was your life. I hoped I was wrong. This money is your ticket out, if you need it, to a new life, a new start, to a man who looks at you like you hung the moon, not like he's calculating its mineral value. Use it to be happy. Use it to be free. You've always had your mother's strength and your own good heart. Don't let the world harden either. I love you, always. Dad. I held the paper as the tears came, quiet and cleansing. He had seen it all. He had given me the map. And after a long, dark detour, I had finally found my way. I folded the letter, placed it back in the safe, and closed the door. I walked to the terrace, looking out at the glittering skyline. The past was settled. The present was mine. The future was a blank page. And for the first time, I couldn't wait to write it. Somewhere in the city, Jack was awaiting sentencing. Miranda was likely ranting to an empty penthouse. Their story was a closed file, gathering dust. My story was just beginning. I took a deep breath of the cool night air, turned my back on the view, and went inside, turning off the lights as I went. The darkness outside no longer scared me. I had learned to become my own light.